Hello, fans of Let's Be Real podcast. Welcome to another episode of the Let's Be Real preview show. Today, we're going to be previewing the Clasico, the more or less the final before the final for Real Madrid. That I think it's at the Montjuic, like the Olympic Stadium in Barcelona. And to preview all of that, we welcome another, friend I like to call Omar, to the show today as well. And Omar is coming off of a very, intense week, what happened in the Champions League. So yeah, Omar, just tell me like what's the feeling like, being a Barcelona fan and losing a game that, literally anyone could have won. You're like literally 2 minutes away from the final and stuff happened. Yeah. So just take us through the motions, man.
I mean, what can I say, man? Deflated, disappointed. Um, we had it in our hands at some point. Obviously, we were 2-0 down. It wasn't looking great. And we managed to rally ourselves, get the equalizer, brought the comeback. It was going to be one of the greatest comebacks probably in Champions League history, being 2-0 down in halftime and bringing it back. But yeah, we shoot ourselves in the foot in Europe again, like we've done the past few years, just when it looked like it was right there in our hands. And yeah, completely disappointed. I thought this was a great year. This could have potentially been our year in the Champions League. But once again, another year, and we let it go. So I'm very disappointed, obviously. But yeah, it is what it is. So now we just have to regroup, try to finish on a high. Big game this weekend against you guys, obviously. 4 points in the table right now as it currently stands. And basically, where it stands, it's that we win. Basically, the league is almost wrapped up. It's all but wrapped up. And if we lose, then now there's a point, and we have a big, 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 huge fixtures coming up after this El Clasico. We have the Catalan derby against Espanyol away. We have to go away to Bilbao. We have to play Villarreal during this run. So yeah, this win is integral. We need to win this game against you guys, because if we lose, yeah, the title race that was looking like it was wrapped up is gonna be looking hella interesting for the next few games, especially looking at the running that you guys have. I mean, respectfully, Mallorca, you should win that. Sevilla not looking good this season, you should win that. Sociedad, you should win that. You understand what I'm saying? So it is what it is.
Yeah, actually, like so, Omar. Before even we get into the running, I was just thinking, like we all saw what happened, on Tuesday against Inter. Like it was a game that had to go to 120 minutes, literally. Even till the 120th minute, people were running and going into the ground and stuff like that. So, how much do you think this is going to affect the preparation, or rather, the performance that you guys could show on Sunday? Do you think it's going to affect you guys negatively or positively?
I think the moral is a little bit down. I mean, you'd be a fool to not think so. Because, you know, to be in a game like that, where it's drama, where you had it in your hands at some point and you let it go. And not to mention the fact that we played 120 minutes. So, and we're playing a well-rested Real Madrid team. You guys are coming into this game fairly well-rested, no mid game in Europe. Everything is looking good, right? Except that, you guys do also have your problems, don't get it twisted. But we are not coming into this game in the best of morals. But can we win this game? Absolutely. I think that, I think Madrid do have a lot to prove in this game against us, because we've already played you guys 3 times this season and won 2 cups against you guys. And I'm sure that's going to remain in the back of the players' minds, because they know that if they lose this game, that's basically the season wrapped up. So I feel like you guys will come into this game with a higher morale. And the fact that we've just lost, it's not looking good. You understand what I'm saying? So the way I look at it is that I I think about it and I'm like, if we had won this game, if we had won the game against Inter, we would have came into this game against Real Madrid in the highest morale, right? Because we would be in a Champions League final, especially after a comeback like that, and potentially to wrap up the league against our biggest rivals. But it's going to be very interesting. It's many people are going to be looking at the last three games and saying, well, you guys do have their number. Listen, doesn't matter how many times we play at Real Madrid in the season. It doesn't matter how many times we play them. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what form both teams are coming into these games. El Clasico is El Clasico, and you never know how it's going to go. I mean, look at the last game in the Copa del Rey, right? We took the lead. You guys brought it back, took the lead. We brought it back and took the lead and won the game. That wasn't like the last two games we played you guys where it was one-sided. So clearly, you guys are learning how to play against us in that game in that game in the Super Cup, in the Copa del Rey final. So I look at it and I'm like, what are we going to see in this game? Because clearly you guys are beginning to understand how to play against this Barca team. So it's going to be very interesting. Obviously, the bad news in Barca at Real Madrid is you guys don't have a defense right now. All your defenders are out. So that's probably the only good news that I would say that's coming out for us Barca fans, because we do have Lewandowski returning in this game. So that's big, big news for us. But yeah, that's what I really think.
Yeah, so let's just put it this like I think if Barcelona wins this game, Barcelona have actually just won the title because I think 7 points with 3 games remaining. It's impossible to see Barcelona drop 7 points across 3 games. That's literally going to mean that they're not gonna be able to win any of the matches, right? So, but I do think I don't know what your opinion is, but I do think even a draw ends the title race. I think the only thing that keeps Real Madrid in this race is a win. Okay, let's just go through into running. We talk about the Catalan derby against Espanyol. With all due
Mm.
respect to Espanyol, like it's not a game that I actually put anything on. I know that it's going to be a difficult and emotionally charged game and stuff like that. But Espanyol is at least at the way they are currently, I don't think it pose too much threat to Barcelona.
No, 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 no. But let me tell you why you should watch out for that game against Espanyol. First of all, we don't have a good record in the RCD stadium. Do you understand what I mean? It doesn't matter how
Yeah,
good or bad they are. We don't do well in that stadium. And number two, you have to understand, Espanyol have a chip on their shoulder. They've actually beaten you guys in their stadium this season as well. If you remember, they beat you guys 1-0, right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
And if you really think about it, they have an opportunity to basically cost us the league title. And if you look at the past few years, what we've taken away from them, we've won the league against them. We've beaten them to win the league before. The last time we won the league, right?
Yeah.
We beat them in 2021 yeah, 2020, and we actually relegated them. So these are all moments that in the back of their minds, it's still there. So they're gonna have a lot of like, especially if let's say you mentioned it, let's say we do lose the game against Madrid. Now they know that if they beat us and Madrid win, then they go top of the table. So they want to have that against us. If they cost us the league, they would hold that against us like, yeah, we took the league title away from you. Don't forget, we were the ones who beat you guys for Madrid to capitalize and go top of the table and go on to win the league. You understand what I'm saying? So, despite everything you say, and despite the fact that, yes, we are the favorites going into that game, it still doesn't matter. Espanyol at the RCD Stadium is not an easy place to go to. So, depending on how the game against Madrid goes, this game against Espanyol could be vital because I'm telling you, they will have a lot to play for if the title race is still on when we play them.
I agree with that. I kind of understand that. But what I'm just saying is that I just feel like eventually, because I'm trying to paint out scenarios here. Like I think the first scenario is if Real Madrid, lose this game, all the scenarios and the permutation and combination that we're doing actually becomes null and void because 7 points Barca doesn't lose that. And I'm painting a second scenario where this game ends in a draw. So I just what I think is that even if this game ends in a draw, I think the 4 point gap is going to be too much across 3 games because I say like it's Espanyol and then we go to Villarreal and Athletic Bilbao. However, on the other hand, as you rightly pointed, if Real Madrid does win this game, Barcelona is going to get jittery because why? You guys were literally on the course for the treble at the beginning of April, or rather, even at the beginning of May. Let's say, just up until
Bro, a
yes,
week ago we
just
were on the course for a treble.
exactly just 2 days ago, till 2 days ago, you guys were on the course for a treble. And all of a sudden, like in the space of 4 days, you guys like be 1 point ahead of Real Madrid and out of the Champions League. So I think that could cost because again, like let's not lie, like this is a very inexperienced Barcelona team. No
Mhm.
matter how good Rafinha is, Rafinha hasn't played in high stakes games in his life before. You understand? You
Yeah.
look at a player like Frankie De Jong as well. You wonder like how many high stakes games have he played? Like I think the highest profile game he's played is the semi final he lost with Tottenham against with Ajax against Tottenham. You remember? So when you look at that, like Yamal still very young. Okay, he played at the Euros in the finals. So you look at the team and you kind of feel like there isn't that much experience. At least going into pressure cooker moments. You understand? So this could be something that works against the team in that sense. But then on the other hand as well, like we have to also like understand that this Real Madrid team is very unpredictable. You understand? So Real Madrid could eventually do go ahead and beat Barcelona and then lose to Mallorca as well, or to Sevilla, or to
Mhm.
Sociedad. But the one thing that actually keeps me gives me a lot of hope is that Real Madrid can win this game. This last two games against Villarreal against Athletic Bilbao, I think those are games that we absolutely should keep our eyes glued on
Exactly.
because those are games that for teams that are actually fighting for stuff. And if I remember correctly, both Villarreal and Bilbao actually are fighting Real Betis for that fourth and fifth spot for the Champions League. You
And
understand?
if you really think
So
about it this way, think about it this way. If we
yeah,
beat you guys if we beat you guys, then that means if we beat Espanyol, we win the league.
true. Yeah,
You see, no, just look at it. Because if we
yeah,
beat you guys, it will be 7 points clear. So if
exactly.
we play Espanyol and we beat them, then we can lose the next two games and still win the league. So
That's
if we win the next two games, guess what? It will be 1 point if you guys win all your games after that.
yeah,
So beating you guys and beating Espanyol could be everything. That's why we need to do it. Like at the end of the day, as much as I would take a draw in this weekend, I'm desperate for the win. Because if we get the win, then that means that in the next game against Espanyol, these guys just have to give it their all. Like, forget about Athletic Bilbao, forget about Villarreal, forget about what you do in those games. You are 2 games away from securing the league title. You understand what I'm saying, right?
yeah,
So you
yeah.
need to get this done. Win this game and make sure the game against Espanyol, win the title against them like you did in 2023. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. But it's gonna be hard. Don't get it twisted. This is why I tell people, because so many people were thinking that the league is wrapped up. Everyone was believing that the league is wrapped up. And I had to remind everyone, bro, it's only 4 points. I don't know why everyone's acting like we have to play Real Madrid during this run. They beat us. That's 1 point, just one. That means that then we have to win every single one of our games and hope that they lose or drop points in one of their games. And they have an easier run to the final games than we do. So
Mhm.
we win, we lose the game against Madrid, we lose one more, and that's it.
Even a draw, it doesn't matter.
That's
Whatever
just the point
happens.
that I'm trying to make.
No,
So that's why I'm like, the title is not over. No matter what you think of Madrid, no matter how bad you think of Madrid, Madrid don't have to be great to win the league. They just have to win. It doesn't matter how they win the games. They just have to win every game 1-0 for the rest of the season, and they could potentially secure the league title.
yeah. Well, honestly, for me personally, I do think if we win out, so that's the last four games: Barcelona, Mallorca, Sevilla, Real Sociedad. I do think Real Madrid are champions. I do think whoever wins out, wins the title more or less. I mean, of course, for Barcelona, it's easier because like as you said, Barcelona wins this game this weekend, they're champions against Espanyol more or less. You understand? But I personally still have hope. Although,
Mhm.
like, yeah, the Real Madrid team right now it's literally unpredictable. It seems like a lot of the players do not even care that much anymore, or they believe they're hyped too much. So it's not sure. You're not sure what you're gonna get with this group of players, Real Madrid players, because you expect to see reactions at certain instances, but we haven't seen that reaction yet. You understand? We still win games without performing very well. You understand? So we haven't seen that reaction. We haven't seen a complete performance from the team, and you also pointed out also like all the defenders are gone. Literally all the defenders are gone. So right now you're gonna play with a makeshift back line with you know if one player gets suspended, it's a big problem because you have to like draft in center backs from the Casilla. Like let's not forget we're 3-0 up and we ended up 3-2 against Celta. So it's this is a Real Madrid team right now. Honestly, that's totally unpredictable, very fragile at the back, and even offensively you cannot trust the output that they're gonna give. But talking about that, so like what would you expect to see in this game? Like considering what's at stake for both teams, more or less. Like what kind of game are you expecting? Because what we've understood is that Flick is going to play that high line, whatever the cost is going to be. Because
Yeah.
literally, in my opinion, this is the reason why you guys were out. How should Acerbi be 1-on-1v1 with your center back at the 90 plus 5 minutes? It should not happen. It should not happen. You understand? Like the box should have been crowded out, in my opinion. You understand? But
I
it's very
mean,
happening.
anyone with a brain would do that. Like this is the
So
thing. So many people have been pointing the finger at Flick, but and here's the thing. At the time, I blamed Flick, but really, when I think about it, I said, at the end of the day, when you're a minute 30 seconds away from a Champions League final, you don't need the manager to tell you what to do at that point. You know what time it is. You sit back, you know what that showed me? It showed me the inexperience in this current Barca team. Because an experienced Barcelona squad would have known at that time of the game, you get the ball, you sit in the corner. Don't cross it. Don't put it in the box. You sit in the opposition team's corner flag and you wait. You waste as much time as you can. And the rest of the players, you guys go back. Crowd the defense. Look at what Inter Milan did. You know, Inter Milan, the thing with Inter Milan is Inter Milan have so many aging, experienced players in that team. They have a lot of players who've been playing for years. See, they understood when they scored that four in the 90s, in the second half of extra time, bro, they packed up the entire defense. Because they're like, yo, it doesn't matter. Have the ball. Have the ball. You can do whatever you want. Like that's the thing. At the end of the day, what our game against Inter showed is that despite how good this team is so inexperienced. There's too much inexperience in the squad. There's not enough leadership. You don't need the manager to tell you to go high. I'm sorry. I know Hansi Flick in the 95th minute wasn't telling the players, yo, go and get a fourth. The players thought their mindset went that way. Because I've seen this before. I remember when we played Atletico Madrid in the league, when we were 2-0 down and we brought it to 3-2. The team was still trying to get a fourth. And we did get a fourth. But you saw that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to basically kill their confidence. But it's like, you don't do that because you're risking it. And it's ridiculous. Look, there's a lot of problems in both of our teams. I look at the Barca team, and I think that our problem is we're too naive. We're too naive of a squad. I think the manager is naive as well, right? But when I look at Madrid, and the problem that I see with this Madrid team is, as talented as the Madrid team is, I think what you have in your squad, and this is a problem that I have seen with Madrid in the past, you're beginning to have two players with too high of an ego. Because if you remember the previous Galacticos, I mean the first one, you had a team that was so full of egos, everybody thought that they were supposed to be the best player. And that always conflicted. And this is the problem when you keep trying to buy superstars. You look at what happened to PSG. Look at what's happened to PSG since Mbappe has left. I told my PSG friend that losing Mbappe will probably be the best thing that happens to you. Because now you're going to have a team of players that actually want to play for the badge. They don't think they're bigger than the club. And I think that's what Mbappe at some point thought when he was at the club, when he was given all that power. He started to think that he was bigger than the club. He started to do whatever he wanted. He felt like he couldn't do no wrong. And that's how they were treating him, right? You look at Real Madrid. Yes, he scored goals. Yes, he's done all of that. But truth be told, how has all the goals he scored, everything he's done, really impacted your club, your team this season? You've gone backwards. You have gone backwards. Last season, you had Joselu in your attack and you won a double. And sometimes that's what I always say about Madrid. Madrid buys superstars every era. My whole lifetime, I've always seen you guys buy superstars. That's not the problem. The problem is when you're trying to crowd your squad with superstars. Oh, we need to go buy the best left back in the world. We need to buy the best center back in the world. We need to buy the best midfielder in the world. We need to go and buy the best striker in the world. You see the idea of we need to get all the best players in the world in one team? Yes, on paper, that sounds great. But the problem with having all those top players is that every single one of those players believes that they're the best player in the world. And what that happens is that the ego gets big. So they believe that the team should be built around them. And even though this season, I don't think it's really shown it, eventually it's going to start to happen. You're going to see a clash of ego between Vinny and Mbappe very soon. Because Vinny is going to think, I'm the guy that's been here all these years. I've been the one carrying this team. I'm the one that's seen 2 Champions Leagues. I've been through the worst and the best times. Mbappe, you arrived when we were winning, right? Whereas Mbappe being the guy now, he's going to think, well, I'm the one that I'm Florentino's favorite because I've been the one that he's wanted all this time. So now I'm here. The team should be built around me. You understand what I'm saying? And Farouk, I'm not telling you this because I'm trying to discourage you, because you've been a Real Madrid fan for a long time. You understand what I'm saying, right? Take it as someone who's seen my club do this in the Bartomeu era. When you start buying these superstars because you want to replicate what you had in the past, you actually end up setting your club back. Because that's what we did with Bartomeu. When we had that MSN trio and we were winning everything, and Neymar left, Bartomeu was so obsessed with trying to build that same front three again. Let's have a Messi Suarez Griezmann, or a Messi Suarez Coutinho, or a Messi Suarez this. He was so obsessed with, like, we need to have a great front three, rather than just, okay, we've lost Neymar. That's unfortunate. But let's actually go and buy a player who fits our system. Let's go and buy a player who maybe we can build as the next big thing. We had an option. Dembele was supposed to be that, but Dembele was too injury prone. And the thing with Dembele is we bought him way too early for my taste. I wanted to see Dembele maybe have another season or two where he could do well, where I can be like, cool, you're ready for Barcelona now, right? But we didn't do that. And the thing is, you guys didn't need Mbappe as much as you needed him. I know people are going to say, but it's Mbappe. You can't really reject him. Well, here's the thing. You guys had hustle last season and you did well. What you guys needed was a Cruz replacement. That's what you needed more than anything else. You needed to buy a midfielder that could do the Cruz role. And if you look at the season, that's what you guys are missing in your midfield. Because Modric is not the same guy anymore, as good as he is. Valverde is a top player who I rate. But Jude Bellingham can't do Cruz's job. Neither can Ceballos. Neither can any of those guys. And you guys needed to work on those areas. And you've seen it now, because the season you've had, you're potentially about to go trophyless. And that's the problem. That is the problem. But look, as far as what I think about this game and our approach, well, we have nothing to play for. This is the only thing that's left for the season. So at this point, there is no more fixture congestion. There's no more worrying about midweek games. There's none of this anymore. Just play the best team. I mean, we have injuries in our defense. Both Kunde and Balde are out. That's the bad news. But Lewandowski is back, and I expect to see him play. Dani Olmo is in the team. Play him every week. Like, all our best players need to play for the rest of the season. Now we are on the crunch point of the season now. We're in the crunch point of the season. Now we have to win every game. So now all our best players need to play every game. There's no more excuses of midweek games. Forget about it. So I expect to see our best lineup that we can potentially bring with bar our injuries. I want to see Lewandowski. I want to see Olmo, Yamal, Rafinha, Pedri, De Jong, in the defense. Bro, our defense, man. Like, I know you guys talk about your defense, but even my defense, it's not as great as many people think we are. Like, Kobashi is a player who has a bright future, but brother, he's young. You can see he's young in the way he plays. He's tackling, his mistakes. He makes young boy mistakes. You understand what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Look at players like Araujo. Araujo has just fallen off a cliff. This guy was looking like one of the best center backs in the world. He's just fallen off a cliff. Inigo, as great as he's been this season, he's not been perfect either. Christensen has not been fit. When he's fit, he's probably our best center back. But he's not been fit either. And honestly, he's played in the game against Valladolid. Bring him in the game against Real Madrid. Start him. He needs to start, because I believe that he's our best center back. Now, we're potentially going to play an Araujo Christensen center back.
Maybe you can just list us the lineup that you expect to see as well while we're talking about that.
Yeah. I mean, Chesney in goal. That's obvious. I know we're going to play Hector. I mean, okay, so Eric Garcia played well in midweek.
Yeah.
So I want to see him play in the game at right back. So I want to see him. There's no denying it. Gerard Martin, as much as I don't rate him, he's gonna play on the left back position. We're gonna have De Jong, we're gonna have Pedri, we're gonna have Olmo, and then we're gonna have Rafinha on the left, Yamal on the right, and Lewandowski in the attack. Now, that should be what he should play. The problem is, something tells me he's gonna change something. When I look at the centre backs, I don't want to see Christensen and Araujo because I think the communication is not going to be great. So I would like to see Christensen, but pair up Christensen with like Inigo, who's been in the team since the start of the season and can basically, talk to Christensen and tell him, yo, this is where the line should be. This is how we should play. This is this and this and this. But yeah, that's basically how I would put it. But I feel like we're going to see some changes. We could see maybe a change in the midfield. Maybe Gavi could play. Maybe De Jong could be benched, something like that. We could see something. But yeah.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, honestly, to see. But yeah, it's it's literally, with Santi Flick and the way he, chops and changes players. Sometimes, you just have to wait and see. But yeah, from the Real Madrid side of things, honestly, I tell you, like, no matter how bad you think your defense is, like, it's not as bad as what we have. Like in the last game, we had to line up, Lucas Vasquez and Chouameni, Raul Asensio, and Fran Garcia as our back four option. I do think in this game, most likely we might, uh, again, the lack of midfield makes me think that we might have to replicate the same thing, because I kind of think if you put in Fede Valverde as a fullback, then you're missing one midfielder. But Chouameni is already playing as a center back, and Kamavinga is out of the season. So you're left to bring in back Luka Modric, who is like, of course, I don't expect Luka Modric to come and start a game against Barcelona, especially with Frankie de Jong, Pedri, and Olmo being in the middle of the park. They're going to like run rings around him, honestly, at this age. So I think it's unfair on Luka Modric. So because of that, you're left with the option of still playing Lucas Vasquez as a fullback, and trying to compensate for the midfield, playing Fede Valverde, Dani Ceballos, and Jude Bellingham as the midfielders. And as you rightly said, like, Dani Ceballos as well is a player that we hope to replace. That we actually found a solution with Purple Patch with somewhere in January or in December. Trying to like kind of replicate that control that we get from Cruz. Of course, it's not the real deal, but
yeah,
it's just it is what it's really been unfortunate, and you literally hit the nail on the head when you said, like, what you needed was a Cruz replacement.
Facts.
And I think every Real Madrid fan knew this. We did
No,
not
that's
need
true, to be fair. Even in the start of the season, I remember some of the Madrid fans I have spoken to were happy to see Mbappe, but even because you know what the word was when you guys signed Mbappe was, oh wow, they've just won the Champions League and they've just signed Mbappe, so now they're just going to win everything. I think there was the Real Madridistas who watch every week. They knew buying Mbappe would work in the attack, but then the midfield and the defense is not good enough. So, and people were like, oh man, we need to.
But that's the thing, though. That's the thing, Omar. It hasn't worked because this season we have scored less goals and conceded more. Last season we lost 2 games. This season we lost 11 games. It's actually 12 now if you include the Arsenal loss. We lost 12 games, from 2 games to 12 games. You understand? And we've scored less and we conceded more. So, like, even offensively, it hasn't worked. So this
and defensively, and defensively as well. I think this season has exposed. This season is exposed that you guys need to not only get a midfielder, but you need a defender, because Rudiger, as good as I rate him, the guy looks like he's not the same guy. Alaba is finished. He's finished. He's finished at the top level.
Militao has 2 ACLs.
Militao, bro, has got two ACLs. That guy is not coming back the same defender.
Exactly.
No chance. Exactly. I'm not saying he's not gonna show some of the traits, but I feel like he's done. He's now gonna be injury prone now for the rest of his career. I can see it every time it's like the Olmo thing. You know how Olmo always has hamstrings, all these. I think Militao is gonna be similar. It's so unfortunate because Militao, he was looking like he was gonna be the next big thing in center backs. Before his ACL, he was finally settling. He was looking like your best defender. And 2 ACLs in 2 years, man. It's unfortunate for him. I do feel bad for him. You look at you even look at your fullback positions. You're playing guys like Valverde out of position. You need fullbacks. Like you need, bro. You talk about both of our teams need rebuilding. We need fullbacks just like you. But you guys need like a whole defensive reshape. You
We need a
need
complete back four. We need the a
yep,
midfielder,
you
a
need
central ball controlling midfielder. We need a
yes.
complete center back because the point is like we need two center backs and two full backs. But okay, we're
Do
gonna
you
get
even need a
Trent.
defensive midfielder as well?
I'd say like we can manage, but we just need like we need a CM who can control the ball. I think with Tchouaméni, Kamavinga, making those runs there, I
Because
think we
who
can
would you
cover.
who is you would you have as an ideal midfielder? I mean, I've spoken to Football Carnage and he said Enzo Fernandez is the one that he wants as like the Cruz replacement because he believes
I
that's
mean,
like the
for me,
perfect
I
one.
think like we've seen players like like Vitinha at Paris
Hmm.
do a very good job. So I would not I would say like
The thing
Vitinha
is, the
Vitinha
thing
is a
is,
really. And
Paris
also
is
one player I also
PSG.
mentioned is like Alexis McAllister as well from Liverpool.
Ooh,
He's been a
interesting.
very good one. And one player that I would also like to add to that list is Martin Odegaard. I do think like Odegaard is really
No,
he's a player that could
no,
be
I'm
quite
sorry. If
interesting.
you respectfully listen, you guys can sign him if you want, but I'm telling you now, this guy, his tendency to go missing in big moments, he's gonna get killed by your fan base if he
I mean, the
returns
point
back
is
there.
that's the thing. Like when you look at the setup that he has at Arsenal, and if you
It's
put
not
him,
even the
he's going to
setup
be
at
in a different
Arsenal.
setup at Real Madrid. So that's the thing. He's not going to be at Arsenal. He's the captain. He's the playmaker. Everything flows through him. At Real Madrid, that's not going to be the case.
But here's the thing, man. It's not even just that. It's his tendency. Like sometimes, there's certain players you kind of give them the benefit of the doubt. Like
Yeah.
a guy like Bellingham, I think that he goes missing in most games, like completely. But the thing with Bellingham is he can just turn up even when he is missing. He could just get a goal out of nowhere. You're like, yo, where was this guy all game? He was actually on the pitch the whole time and he just scored. The thing with Odegaard is, especially in the run in the Champions League, Arsenal have been playing very well. Their midfield has been great. The defense has been great. Look at the game against you guys, how well they played. Odegaard was the only guy in that team for me that didn't do anything. Like he was, he wasn't even like, it's not like he was having the ball and he was getting pocketed. No, it was the fact that he wasn't where they needed him. Like I was seeing Declan Rice doing his job. Yesterday, he had like the first 10 minutes where he had a shot with Donnarumma saved. But really, apart from that, he's really been quiet. And the thing is, this is who he is for club and country. Now, people are going to say, but it's the team. No, it's not just about the team. Certain players, they shine even when they're not in good teams. You understand what I'm saying? Like, right? At the end of the day,
Bro, like the point is this: we're not talking about Ballon d'Or caliber level
no, no,
players.
no,
This
no.
is the
And that
point I'm
is the
trying to make. Like,
thing.
so this is the thing. Like, that's why
I'm
I'm
not
saying to
talking
you,
about
like,
Ballon.
you don't for
Hmm,
this Real Madrid team now. We don't need a player that's gonna come and take the game by the scruff of the neck. No, we just need a part into the machine. You understand? I don't
yeah.
need a player of the level of Tony Cruz to come and do a job. You just need a player that can, recycle possession. This is why, for instance, for me, like I don't treat a player like Zubimendi very highly, but I do
Hmm.
understand that Zubimendi can do a good job for Real Madrid. Similar to what we see Dani Ceballos. Dani Ceballos was at a certain point earlier this year. Dani Ceballos was looking like the best midfielder that Real Madrid had, but
Yeah.
literally he wasn't the best midfielder. It's just that he has certain characteristics. He has certain traits. He has certain abilities that is different from all what Real Madrid midfielders have. So the point I'm trying to make, of course, I agree to you that like when push comes to shove,
Hmm.
Martin Odegaard is not your guy. I know, but at Real
No,
Madrid,
no,
he will
no.
never be asked to be that guy.
And look. I get it. This is why when you even talk about guys like McAllister, I don't think McAllister is a top world class midfielder, but he can do a job. Absolutely. Same thing applies to Enzo. I don't think Enzo is a world class midfielder. Listen, I think that a guy like Enzo would cook at a club like Madrid. I think that he would cook in La Liga in general. I think that he's a he looks like a La Liga type midfielder. You understand what I'm saying, right? So, and obviously I get it. These are going to be hard. Vitinha, I don't think that's going to happen because PSG, especially after the way you guys do with the Mbappe thing, those guys don't want to see you
But
anytime
all the
soon.
players I mentioned, none of them is going to happen. McAllister, Odegaard, Vitinha,
Yeah.
none of them are going to come.
I
Zubimendi
mean,
is the
look,
most realistic
but
one.
you know what the thing with Madrid is? Madrid have the poor. Do you understand what I'm saying? Madrid have the poor. You know what Madrid have that other clubs don't have? Like clubs like Chelsea, Manchester United. Like even in a way, we even have that kind of level of pull as well, where we don't necessarily have to be the best team. And we don't really have to say much. All we have to do is just link to the player, and the player will do the job for us. It's like when you guys were linked to Cristiano. If you remember in the early 2000s, you guys were in the mud. Let's be clear. You guys were doing well in the league, but in Europe, you guys were nowhere near Manchester United. Manchester United were on another stratosphere around that time.
Yep, sure.
But you remember the moment that Madrid were linked to Cristiano, Cristiano's head was gone. His head was gone. He was like, nope, Real Madrid, I had word. I want to go. Like, you remember, they won the Champions League and he still said, I wanted to go.
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, Madrid have that pull. The moment the player is linked, the player's head is in Madrid. You understand what I'm saying? So the same thing applies. This is when I look at the Saliba thing. A lot of these Arsenal fans are deluding themselves into thinking, why would Saliba leave us? We're doing well. First of all, you're trophyless. You don't win anything. This man is going to go to Real Madrid, a club that is challenging for trophies every single season. Like, come on. Like, the moment that Real Madrid gets linked to Saliba, it's GG's. It's GG's. It doesn't matter. You can say, oh, but they need to give us this money. They need to give us that money. What happens if Saliba says, well, I'm not leave. Well, I want to go. I want to leave. Because at the end of the day, what are you going to do? What are you going to do if you deal with an unsettled player? If the player says, I don't want to be here. So for me, that's why I think Madrid have. So Madrid can be linked to Vitinha. I think the reason I say Vitinha is not going to happen is because with PSG, we've seen that even when players say, I want to leave, they don't let the players leave. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that Vitinha is going to be almost impossible. You understand what I'm saying? Because with PSG, they don't need the money. They can just say, you can give them all the money. They'll be like, no, we don't want to sell him. We don't want to sell him. Give us 300 million. We still say no. We have the money. We have money. We're not broke. You understand what I'm saying? But Enzo is different because Enzo plays for Chelsea, who, they're trying to get back to their old ways. But Real Madrid come calling. Enzo might look at them and say, yo, Madrid
Bro has an 8-year contract, man. Bro has an 8-year contract.
But
so
hey, listen, what happens?
That.
What happens if the player sits out training, sits out games? Do you want to keep a player who wants to sit out games? Because let's be clear, people are going to say, but he was not going to do that. Oh, come on, man. Come on, man. Do you guys know who this? Do you guys know Enzo? Do you know Enzo enough to know that he can't do that? If Real Madrid come in and say, yo, do you want to sit in this Chelsea team in the Premier League? Challenging for Europa Leagues, Conference Leagues, top 4? Or do you want to come into our midfield and actually be Cruz's replacement and be in our midfield when we're trying to win everything? Come on, man. Like, sometimes you got to understand, even if he has an 8-year to 20-year contract, if the player says, I'm not want to be here, and sits out and says, I'm not going to training, I'm not doing anything until the Madrid move happens. Chelsea will have no choice. You want to keep you're going to pay a player that amount of money to just sit out. No, you're not doing that. And that's the thing. The same thing applies with McAllister. If Real Madrid come in for McAllister wants to move, yeah, Chelsea, Liverpool fans can say whatever they want. They can do whatever they want. Look at the Trent thing. Look at Trent. Trent is
Exactly.
training.
So that's the point I'm going to say to you. Like, like the way Real Madrid moves these days is different. So like that's why when you talk about a player like Saliba, it's very realistic because like this summer he's going to have 1 year left on his contract, and next summer he's going to be this summer he's going to have 2 years left on his contract, and next summer it's going to be 1 year left on his contract, something like that. So it's a very realistic target. But I do think Chelsea players are like very difficult to get. But I think McAllister is a very gettable target, but I don't think Real Madrid will go for that right now. I do think, and for me personally,
would you take Alex Baena from Villarreal, or do you think he doesn't fit your system?
Bayern, I think fit. I think Bayern actually is also a name that I have thought of, but I just think like there's a lot of bad blood between Real Madrid and Alex Bayern. Actually, I just think.
Oh, really?
Because of the whole
I didn't know this. I don't know this. What's the deal?
Oh, like there was a Copa del Rey game where literally there was actually even an allegation that Fede Valverde punched Alex Baena because like Alex Baena apparently was mocking Fede Valverde because I don't know if you know, but like Fede actually and his wife had a miscarriage. They had stillbirth. So like Alex Baena apparently was like mocking Fede and his wife for
I'm not gonna lie. If Baena did that, that is shitty because
exactly.
there are certain things you don't do that, man.
Well, other than that, I love Baena. Baena is a really good player, man. Honestly, Baena
I love him. I want him at Barcelona next season.
That could do a job as well. But I do think the most realistic midfield target for Real Madrid is Zubimendi, in my opinion. Okay. I think Zubimendi is a player that you can get from Sociedad, the Spanish national team player. He doesn't need a lot of time to adapt and everything like that. Just a plug and play. You have him there. But I don't know. I also do think Real Madrid right now are not moving because it's really strange how Real Madrid are moving these days. Like they
Apparently,
literally don't have center backs.
yeah. I mean, I've spoken to, like I said, um, I mean, to be fair, Will has been telling me recently he believes that you guys are low key broke. He thinks that you guys, even though are not showing it, that you guys might
I
be
think
having a
it's
few
it's not about
financial
being low
issues.
key,
Maybe not
bro.
as
Or
bad
stuff.
as us, but
I mean, the point is like you have to pay for the stadium, right? So it's the
yeah,
stadium is a very, very significant investment. So like it's not like like 1.5 billion euros doesn't just find its way out of somewhere, you understand? So it's a very significant investment. And the point is right now the way transfers, the way the transfer market has been, it's super inflated. It's very, very difficult to, be able to match certain transfer fees. And I mean, you're talking about Enzo, like Chelsea paid 105 million for Enzo, bro. So what do you think they're gonna sell him for?
yep.
So like, does it make sense to pay that much money for Enzo? No, like when you talk about a defender like William Saliba, like I think Saliba right now is most likely the most expensive or the most valuable defender that is out there. Because
Mhm.
when you look at his age as well, Bastoni also is a player that I absolutely adore a lot. But I do think like for those kind of players, you just have to wait. You just have to play the game like we've been playing it for the past couple of years. Like that, and also the thing that actually worries that I feel really bad about is like why do Real Madrid not look internally in the league for for replacements? For
Mhm.
instance, I've always thrown the name of Pau Torres out there. Okay, like Pau Torres actually got injured when he moved to Aston Villa, but Ramos left. Pau Torres was at Villarreal, bro.
Yep.
We could easily have gone and got Pau Torres from there.
Ball playing
Easy,
center back, he
easy.
would have fit. He would have fit. That's the thing with Madrid, isn't it?
You know?
It's this is what I
Uh,
mean. When Madrid are very smart with their transfers, you guys are actually very scary when you're smart with your transfers. Like when it's like you mentioned, when you guys got Ramos, you remember when you got I remember when you guys signed Ramos. I was a kid, but I remember when you guys signed him, right? I didn't even know who this kid was, but he was highly rated. I think he only had like one full season as a professional at Sevilla. And then all of a sudden Madrid were like, all right, we'll have him.
you know?
Like that's the thing. At the end of the day, it's yes, much sometimes I feel like sometimes they do get a little bit obsessed with buying the best players in the world. But yes, you can buy the best players in the world. Nobody's saying that you can't, but you got to mix it with reliable players, which is something that you guys did very well in the 2010s. You had that front three. When you had Ronaldo, everyone knew Ronaldo was the best player in the world. He was the guy, he was the man, he was everything, right? You knew Bale was one of the best wingers in the world. Benzema, let's be real. Around that time, Benzema was really not was very underrated in that team. I don't think people really gave Benzema the respect that I think he deserved until those two left. Because Benzema was integral to that BBC front three. You understand what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
because he wasn't the one who was shining, Ronaldo was shining, Bale was shining. You look at him in field. You guys got Madrid from Tottenham. Before you guys remember when you guys signed Madrid, I remember he was voted as like the worst signing in La Liga,
Yeah.
right? And then you guys got Casemiro from Porto. I know, yeah, I think you guys got him from Corinthians and you loaned him to Porto or something like that,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
right? You think about, when you had Cruz, you signed Cruz from Bayern, who remember Bayern Munich, they were trying to get rid of him because they tried to sell him to United before Madrid came in for him,
Yeah.
right? You look at when you signed Pepe. I don't even remember where you guys signed Pepe from. Did you sign from
Porto.
Porto? You signed him
Yeah.
from Porto. Varane, you got him from Lens, right? You bought Carvajal was from your academy. You sold him to Leverkusen and bought him back. But
Yeah.
that's the thing. You guys were very smart in your signings. Your signings were so smart. You guys bought top players, but it wasn't always every season. We're gonna buy a world class player. We're gonna buy the best player in the world at center back. We're gonna buy the best player in the world at right back. We're gonna sign the best goalkeeper in the world. We're gonna sign the best midfielder in the world. No, you were like, oh shit, we have Modric who's doing well in Tottenham. Oh, all right, let's have him. You understand what I'm saying, right? Oh, Casemiro is actually one of the best up and coming players in the midfield in Corinthians. I will have him. Pepe was doing his thing at Porto. Not a lot of people knew what Pepe was doing in Porto, but Madrid did. They got him. That's the thing. You guys were very, very smart. You bagged best players in the world, but you also saw the hidden gems that people didn't see in top teams. So
I
you will
mean,
have, will have
to
him.
counter that, you also could see like, even the makeup of the midfield right now. You can see like Fede Valverde
Mm,
was bought, from Penarol at literally peanuts. Like we've seen what happened with Trent Alexander-Arnold that is going to join for a free transfer. Kylian Mbappe joined for a free transfer. I do think like what's happened is that Real Madrid are still being very smart in the market, but the point is that at this point in time, they are not able to make some moves due to some financial constraints, and this is hindering the team. Actually, like a lot of the guys keep saying like there is a plan for Real Madrid. Like they believe that we're in a transition phase. They're going to build the team bit by bit, not all at once. You understand? So we're
mm.
not going to see a summer where we should expect 3, 4, 5 signings. Maybe
No.
after Trent, we're going to see 1 or 2 more players join, and then it's going to be till the next summer again. Like bit by bit, they build the team. So this is more or less what what the target is. But let's just go to the chat and read some comments, and then we can quickly wrap this up. We have Ashik in the chat. He says, Hernandez is a ref. Is there any point in playing this match?
Oh, here we go
So
again. Here we go
exactly,
again.
exactly. So we have Jordan in the chat as well. Says Hugh. Hi Jordan. White says saludos, saludos to you too, White. And we have Sunaid in the chat says big up panel. But the god goes me into the hiding. Saliba is very much possible.
Thank
He
you.
says
Thank you,
he's
Mohammed.
not a fan of Zubimendi. And he says we need a striker too. I don't know why anybody is not talking about a striker. Yeah, like a striker is also player one position that we need. But I think the issue about the offense of Real Madrid right now is I don't
Mhm.
see any sense in buying any attacker if one of the players doesn't leave. Either maybe
I
it's
mean, Rodrigo is
Rodrigo,
being linked
maybe
out of the
it's
club.
exactly maybe Rodrigo, maybe
That
Vinicius.
would be stupid, by the way, because Rodrigo has actually always been like one of your most consistent. You know what? I look at him, I look at Rodrigo, and I think he's like this modern days Angel Di Maria, just a guy who
Um,
always like played so well, but really never got the appreciation until he and then was just sold when the right offer came in.
I think that's a stretch, man. I think Di Maria is way, way better than the Di Maria was way better than what
No, of
Rodrigo
course,
is right now.
I'm not saying
I do
Rodrigo
I
is
get what you're saying, but
yeah.
the issue about that is that we have to understand also like there is a marketing perspective to this, and Rodrigo has not scored. I think has scored 1 goal or has not scored since February.
Mm.
We're in May, bro. You
Nah,
understand?
here.
For me personally, honestly, like after this season, I love Vini to death. But for me, if I have to choose one player to leave
Yeah,
Real
I mean
Madrid
his
right
contract
now,
is running out soon. I've
no,
heard
no, I think it's 27. Vini's contract ends
yeah,
in
but that's the
27.
thing, because after next season, he only has 1 year. So if he doesn't sign in
He's
this
gonna
last
sign.
year,
Vini's gonna sign. Vini's gonna sign. But the point
okay.
is that should Real Madrid offer him a contract? This is the question.
I
In
mean
my
they
opinion, I
should.
think rather than selling, no, bro, come on. Like,
Come on, man. You really
I've seen
seriously
Real Madrid,
considering selling him?
bro. The point is this: it's either you choose one of Kylian and Mbappe. You actually said this earlier
No,
in the podcast. You said
I
the
no,
two
I did,
egos
I
are
did,
going to clash.
I
So
did, I
it's
did.
either you choose Kylian and Mbappe or you choose Vinicius Junior. I
That would
I
be very
totally agree
unfair,
with.
man. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like
How do
Vinny.
Okay, so tell me, how do you proceed with Vinicius and
No, no,
Kylian
no,
Mbappe on
no.
the
I'm
same
not
team?
saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying that thinking about what someone like Vinny has done, because Vinny has been there
Vini has
since.
done a lot for us, honestly. We
And
cannot
that
say
is the
anything. But the
problem,
point
bro.
is that
So selling him, I feel like maybe not you, maybe you as well, but I feel like a lot of Real Madrid fans would not be happy if Finney was sold. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because they'll
bro,
be like, well, like because they'll be like, with all due respect, Mbappe, you came in and we stopped doing well. Before you arrived, we were actually doing well with Vinny. Do you see what I'm saying? So if it's like, you know what this reminds me of? It's gonna be very similar to when you guys saw Fernando Redondo to AC Milan. Because you remember, because obviously this is before I was way too young to remember this, right? But I know from talking to some of my uncles who are Madridistas, right? They told me that when you guys saw Redondo, because Redondo was sold because um, Florentino Perez was the president and Redondo was supporting the previous president. So they didn't see eye to eye. And Redondo was actually one of your most reliable and he was like a cult hero in Madrid. You understand what
yeah.
I'm saying, right? And then out of nowhere, he was just sold to AC Milan, and the fans were fuming. They were fuming that he was sold. You understand what I'm saying, right? Because they believe, yo, how are you gonna sell this guy who's been to the thick and thin with us? He's helped us win Champions Leagues, 2 Champions Leagues. He's won us so many trophies. So I think that Vinny, if it gets to a point where they have to choose between Vinny and Mbappe, some of the fans, I know who Florentino will choose, but the fans are definitely not going to be happy if
I'll tell
Vinny
you,
is
Omar, then it's not going to reach that point. They're going to kick Rodrigo out. I think Vinny and Mbappe are like untouchables. But in my opinion, I do think the problem is between those two guys. But I don't know. I think Rodrigo is the odd one out. I don't think they're gonna like. So to talk about what Sunit was saying, like for the striker, like I think until one attacker leaves, I don't think Real Madrid will look into strikers. And actually, he was saying something about like it's a bit controversial.
mm,
Vini's top three wingers in the world. For me, Mbappe has to take a back seat really, which is never gonna happen. Play on the wing, we bring in a proven striker, Mbappe, Vini, either side, we'll bang. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I think that's just the way forward. Like, we take one attacker, which most likely seems to be Rodrigo, out of the equation, and you bring in a striker. And you
right.
bring in a striker that's good, link up play. You look at what, Thuram is doing for Inter Milan. Absolutely
You would
phenomenal,
take Thuram in your team.
yeah, Thuram is a phenomenal link-up player, bro. Phenomenal link-up player, man. I don't need Thuram to have output. I don't need him to score, bro.
So
Like
you okay? So
we've gone seasons where Benzema scored 5 goals, man. 5 goals and like 7 assists or something like that. I'm not comparing Thuram to Benzema. I'm just saying
no
to
no
you
no
that
no no. I know.
what we need from an attacker or from a striker is to be able to bring Vinicius in. I mean, what Olivier Giroud was doing for France
I
at the
mean, to be
World Cup,
fair, that might be
you know.
able to help the chemistry with Mbappe because
No,
obviously they play for France.
that's the thing.
So
Like, so it's not even just about that. It's that we need someone, not a goal scorer. As much as I like Victor Osimhen, I know that Osimhen should not come to Real Madrid. You understand?
right.
Because the point is, Osimhen is going to create that extra layer of tension that we want to run away from.
Mm,
You understand? We need
mm,
a striker that's going to come in and do a job, similar to what Bobby Firmino did for Mane and Salah,
yeah.
similar to what Benzema did for Cristiano and Bale. We need a
Mm,
striker that's okay, be willing to be like, okay, I'm gonna score 2 goals a season, 10 goals a season, have 5 assists. I'm not gonna show up on the stat sheets, but my teammates know that I am the glue.
right.
You understand? So this is the kind of player you need at Real Madrid. You don't need. I mean, if you go and you bring, I mean, Harry Kane was also would have been a great shout as well. His auto play is phenomenal.
Mhm.
The way Harry Kane brings others into play is phenomenal. But yeah, man, Kane is gone. You can't go into that again. Kane is old, and if you start looking at, strikers like Haaland and so on, it's just
Mhm.
going to create another whole level of tension, honestly. So, like, where Real Madrid go offensively, I think let's see what happens with the coaching situation. If we get a new
Right, right,
coach,
right,
who it's
right.
going to be, and then we can see that. Anyways, Omar, so let's take your predictions and we can just wrap this up. We've gone for more than an hour, I guess, or about an hour, something like that.
Right. Um, it would be great. It would be great to get 4 wins in the season, bro. If I beat Madrid 4 times in a season, man, I'll be so arrogant. I don't care. I want to win because I've had a terrible week. I need to win this game. This game is gonna give me some happiness, man. It's gonna give me some joy because I definitely needed some joy in my life right now. Um, I mean, look, if there's any good news coming into this game, is that you guys are not as perfect either with your defense, the way the defense is looking. So, but then again, Ancelotti has been playing Adagula a lot more, and he's been cooking.
Yeah, true.
Jeez,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 2-1 Barca, 2-1 Barcelona in this one.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, I'm gonna go the reverse score line as well. I do think, like after losing 3 times, we eventually find that one game, that literally saves our whole
Mm,
season. And
it's
I do
about
think
time.
Real Madrid wins this game 2-1. Actually, I do think, we would be able to pull this off because, yeah, we pull it off because we will require a miracle to do that. So yeah, we need,
Right.
we'll have, a
No.
very interesting game, but eventually, like Real Madrid is gonna win. And hopefully, I just wish that we go to the game on Sunday and we play the game clean, fair, and square. No refereeing controversy, nothing. Let the
Mhm.
best team win.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely, man. Yeah, it is what it is. I'm looking forward to
Yeah,
this, but I'm also not looking forward to it. It will be a great Sunday if we win. We will, but we will. But yeah, we need to. I mean, listen, we desperately need to win. We just don't need to lose. That's really it. I'll take the draw because then you draw 4 points, still good.
yeah.
So yeah, it
Yeah,
is
I
what
mean,
it is.
for Real Madrid, anything other than a victory is a loss. If we don't win this game, anything, even if we draw whatever, we've lost the title. So we need to absolutely win. Anything other than a win, we are toast.
Yep.
All right, and then Omar, thank you for being here with us. Thank you for taking the time. And like just check out Omar's links, and check out his pages. You can find the links below in the description. And also just to do some housekeeping, this episode is sponsored by Manscaped. To get some 20% discount off of the shop in some Manscaped, just use the code LBR20. You can find the links in the description. Also check out Fanatics. You can also find the links there. We're also part of the Talksport Fan Network, so you can find the links to all that below, and just show the channel some love, subscribe, drop the comments and so on and so forth. And also, again, as we said, like Omar is literally a very good friend of the channel, so please just show him some love as well. And with that, I wish everyone a good weekend and a good Clasico, and I say Hala Madrid.
Yeah, Farouk.